Professor, for your explanation of the idea that you all have conceived and then working out both the theory and practice. So this session I'm going to mix with a little bit of explanation to meditation and bring on the table, on the floor, a practice for the meditation with Chakra purification. So it's a powerful practice which I myself have been doing for a long time. And also I have introduced to various groups, institutions, individuals. So the text will be there for our practice. But before that, let's understand that meditation, we call it in English meditation, but in our language, in Sanskrit, it's called dhyana. The word is dhyana, D-H-Y-A-N-A, dhyana. The word dhyana has this root sound, the seed sound, dha, D-H. The original property, the quality of this sound, dha, in all Indian languages and especially in Sanskrit, it means to hold on to grasp, to cling to. So when we say meditation, we may not understand, we may not have the original idea behind what it is. But if you contemplate on the word dhyana, it explains you that you have to hold it in your consciousness, in your mind. You have to hold it, you have to allow it to sink into your own consciousness, and you have to do it unless and until you have to do it until it becomes an integral part of your consciousness. Then you don't have to do dhyanam, but dhyanam happens. In our tradition, one doesn't do. It doesn't mean that the human effort will not be there. Human effort has to be till a certain level. Then the force itself will take care. That's why here in India, in Bharat, the gurus will tell you that you don't have to do anything. I will take care of everything. You just surrender yourself. You open yourself. Keep yourself open. Then the guru will take care. Guru is not just a physical being. Okay? Guru is a spiritual force which works out everything. And this force is so heavy that it's difficult to bear the heaviness, the weight of that force. That's why it's called Guru. Originally, the sense of Guru is a heavy weight. Guru means heavy. Because he carries that force in him, very heavy. It's very difficult to stand before a Guru if you do not have the purity in your aspiration. So, dhyana has to happen. You don't need to do. To that level, one can raise oneself. Then it's happening in you. You see it. The consciousness has become that. Okay. There are so many stories to describe it. I will give you some anecdotes which will clarify how the gurus guided the disciples to do dhyana. So in Pondicherry, Sri Aurobindo Ashram, so Mira Alfasa, who came from France, Paris, became the spiritual collaborator of Sri Aurobindo, was taking care of all the sadhaks, all the aspirants, aspiring souls, the disciples. Disciples are those who follow the discipline, follow a particular spiritual discipline. Right? Without discipline, no disciplehood. So she used to address to the particular problems of many sadhaks, many disciples. So one sadhak, meditation of course, is dhyana, is an integral part of the ashram discipline, but there is no imposition that at a particular time everyone has to do dhyana. In a particular way one has to do dhyana, because everyone's temperament is different, unique. My temperament is different from the temperament of the persons who are working with me, in my family, my own children, my parents. So each individual is unique, has its own. We call it temperament in English, but in our language we call it the swabhava and swadharma. The inherent, the innate nature. The swabhava is different. And we all, ultimately, we all have to follow our own swabhava, and we all have to be guided by our own swabhava. You turn to any text, any spiritual text in Bharat, you will find this, that swabhava niyatam karma. The karma, every action, it has to be swabhava niyatam, means it has to be guided, regulated, controlled by the swabhava. In dhyana, what should we do? In meditation, what should we do? Should we just close our eyes, sit cross-legged, or in a particular position? There are people who can do it for hours together. There are people who cannot even sit for 5 minutes. Very interesting anecdote I share with you. We do this 1 minute silence in the beginning and in the end. So we were doing it here with a group of some executives, and when I introduced it, we did that, and then we just discussed about what happened during this 1 minute. And one of the young executives, so he said something very interesting and very practical. It happens to every one of us. So he said, I don't know what happened in me, what happened to you all, the big things that you saw something or something took over you, light, force, so many things you all are sharing. But what I experienced, that executive is saying, what I experienced, that for the first time in my life, I came to know how long is 1 minute. We spend time talking, gossiping for hours together. We don't know how time passes. But sitting in silence for 1 minute is a very difficult event. Very, very difficult event. If you have not done it, do it, and then you will realize it. So, therefore, we introduce several techniques how to utilize that 1 minute in silence, or invoking silence, so that silence becomes a part of your consciousness. And one has to relate. So the anecdote which I wanted to share, so there was one person, one sadhak, very old time sadhak, lived in the ashram for more than 40 years, but could never meditate. But he was one of the finest sadhaks. Please remember, he is the finest sadhak, but has never done meditation. So meditation is not a criteria or the criteria to decide for yourself whether you are a best sadhak or not. Best disciple. He did it. But he was concerned about it also. He carried this doubt about himself, that why when others are able to sit for hours together, cross-legged, eyes closed, doing meditation, he couldn't even sit for a few seconds. It didn't happen to him. So he went to the mother, Mira Alfasa, who was called later the mother, asked her, what is it? Am I not meant for meditation? Is my life a waste here in ashram? What it is, mother? Please explain. So the mother said, why do you think that all those who sit cross-legged, eyes closed, for hours together are truly doing meditation? They may be doing something else. They may be having some other engagement inwardly. She explained that, see, sitting in a particular position, in a particular way, is not going to give you the realization. You can sit in the same position the way Buddha sat for years together, and you will not get enlightenment, because it is not the position which gave enlightenment to Buddha. It's something else that we need to bring. Okay. So she said that day something very, very remarkable, which changes the whole idea about dhyana. She said, please remember, any work done with the right attitude, from the right state of consciousness, is meditation. You are cooking, you are sitting, you are eating, you are talking, you are reading, you are doing anything in life. If that right attitude, what is the right attitude? The right attitude is to be in that state of silence. You operate from a higher level of consciousness. Operate from that state of silence. We have this foundational text called Bhagavad Gita. You must have heard the name Gita. This is a foundational text of our Sanatana Dharma. Okay. So in Bharat, you ask anyone, what is the text? So Gita. Right? So there is a beautiful phrase and not very well explained to or by many, because it's a tricky verse. But there lies the secret of dhyana, secret of this attitude which the mother spoke. We have to have the right attitude in action. Right? So it says, I'll read out the original line and then I'll explain it, because the language in which it is written is not understood by many. Even in India also, like many people will not understand, even many people who have the knowledge of that language also may not understand. So I'll explain it. It says, Karmani akarma yah pashyat, akarmani cha karma yah. If you do a very literal translation of this, it says, see action in inaction and inaction in action. That's a very paradoxical verse. What is action in inaction and inaction in action? You go and read many commentaries, you will get more confused. But I too was confused. Okay, growing through Bhagavad Gita, through various commentaries, this verse really couldn't give the deeper message that it has. But then finally, one day, I get this answer from Sri Aurobindo's Essays of the Gita, where he translates simply karma as the dynamic aspect and akarma as the silence aspect. So he actually says karma is the prakriti and akarma is purusha. Seeing purusha in prakriti and prakriti in purusha, it means while being dynamic in the world, never lose the state of silence. To be in the state of silence is to be in the mode of purusha. To be in dynamism is to be in the mode of prakriti. So while being in the state of purusha, never lose your dynamic power of being in action. That's why, like many people say, what did Sri Aurobindo do? He was confined into a room doing meditation for 24 years, never came out. But please remember, in that state of silence, he was actively participating in the world event. Even the decline of Hitler, Sri Aurobindo was the reason. He was controlling Hitler from his room. He was guiding him that this is how Hitler has to behave, so then he could be defeated. He did that work, and it is on record. And spirituality has that power. Dhyana has that power to do it. So that's what is called like akarmani karma. Being in that state of Purusha, he was absolutely dynamically participating in the world event and then bringing a change. If a yogi, now see, we have avatars. So Krishna takes avatar, but in a human form. Rama takes avatar in a human form. Why? Buddha comes in a human form. Goes through all human suffering, all human struggles on the earth. Why? If they are so powerful, they can operate it from a different level. Why do they take human birth? Simply because the purpose of avatarhood is to achieve that strength in the human consciousness, so then it facilitates the manifestation of the same force in other human beings. It is not that one person. There is a beautiful exhibition on Rama's life in Chitrakoot. We visited with our group, Ram Darshan. So the story of Ram is written there. Vishwamitra was his guru, and then Rama and Lakshman, two brothers. So they said to Vishwamitra that you don't have to worry, Guruji, we two are enough. Vishwamitra said, then I have failed in my teaching to you, if you say this. My purpose is, I know that both of you are very powerful, but I don't want that both of you should be everywhere. You have to create more Ram and Lakshman. You have to create more Ram and Lakshman. When you transmit that power to others and create, like, that's why we say that the true leader is the one who creates more such leaders like him. He doesn't create, like his life story, his inspiration, it creates. Like if there was one character, Bhagat Singh here, like there are many who died for the nation. Like if one character, one person dies for the nation, and the death of that person, the sacrifice of that person, forces the birth of another millions of persons' life. That is what the power of the spiritual force, dedication, tapasya can do. So, following certain, how did these people become and attain to such level of, such higher level of consciousness by following certain disciplines? So, dhyana, there are various techniques. Why various techniques? Because each one can follow whatever is conducive to one's own swabhava and swadharma. Some way may be conducive to me, the other may not. You turn to the Gita itself. If Gita is the text, Krishna, who is the divine teacher, teaching his disciple, human disciple, Arjuna. So he says, there is a chapter 12, he proposes various ways. He said, Arjuna, you cannot do this, then do this. Then he said, oh, this also is difficult for you, then you do this. Oh, that's also difficult for you, then you do the fourth one. That also is not working out for you, then do. And nothing works for you, leave it to me, I'll do it for you. Okay. That's what is the divine teacher. Alternatives are available. That's why diverse ways of meditation. Go to Vijnana Bhairava, you have 112 ways of meditation. Every guru shows some ways which is conducive, and one can choose. One is free to choose one's own path. Okay. So here I take the clue and inspiration from the Tantric tradition, the Kashmir Shaivism, the Shakta tradition, and then we contemplate. So I'll demonstrate the practice here, and then we can do it together, and I will share this text with you all, so that if you want to take this practice in your life, at a personal level, collective level, you can do it. It is highly beneficial, and when you do it, you will know it, like any other practice. So this is called the meditation with chakra mantras. So when we say chakra, these are the energy fields, the centers. For example, if there is a greater force which takes care of everything. Like you have a very high voltage cable running. Then from there you bring and then create a socket. This is for your refrigerator, that is for your TV, various purposes you use. So that higher force is running constantly in our consciousness, but to channelize that force, there are certain centers which have been realized. In deep meditation, they could identify those centers where it can channelize its force in a very effective manner, shaping our consciousness, refining our consciousness, energizing our consciousness, making it free from all kinds of conditions. So these centers are called the chakras. And chakra means actually a wheel, something which keeps moving in a cycle, keeps moving. It's not a static chakra. So when you do the dhyana on it, you energize, you make it dynamic. Most people who are lazy, don't do anything, so for them these centers have become very static, congested. Nothing happens. So you have so many kinds of physical problems, emotional problems, mental, psychological problems, but it can happen. And when we say, we will have to do it with mantra. And what is a mantra? Swamiji explained to you about Rishi, Chanda and the Devata. So Rishi, Chanda and the Devata are connected with mantra. Every mantra has a Rishi, every mantra has a Chandas, every mantra has a Devata. So it's all connected to mantra. Mantra is at the basis. What is that mantra? Mantra is something when someone, by following a certain discipline, has raised himself to a higher state of consciousness in deep silence. So some universal action takes place. There is a realization of a certain aspect of the truth, and when that realization happens, that person called Rishi, who has developed this inner vision, he could see the truth, he could see that aspect of the truth clearly. And then, whatever happens, that realization, so it takes place in that state of consciousness, it descends into him, it manifests in that person in the form of vibrations, spanda, vibrations. And those vibrations become self-organized in a very rhythmic and potent manner, and we call it as mantra. And there is no distortion, there is no limited tools which intervene and distort it. If there is at all any distortion, it will not be called mantra. So that is why the Rishi says, Yadrugeva dadrushe tadrugyate. The way I see, I present it. Mind doesn't interfere. The same way, like I also read when Sri Aurobindo was writing his book, Life Divine, he said, he didn't allow the force to, or the words to pass through his mind. He said the force were directly coming from the higher state of consciousness to the tip of the pen. That's how the Life Divine was written. This was his mantra. So mantra is a potent sound, highly rhythmic, carrying the essence of the experience of the realization. The moment you come in contact with the mantra, you come in contact with the realization, you come in contact with the experience that happened when this mantra was manifesting in the Rishi. So you become identified with the Rishi, with the Chanda, with the Devata. Whatever is the spiritual essence of that rhythmic expression. So there are powerful mantras, and Tantra recognizes the power of the Bija mantras. Bija mantra means there are certain nuclear sounds, fundamental sounds at the core of everything. Okay. So every object, everything that has manifested in this creation, everything that you see, even our ideas, they are all seen as vibrations. They are all seen as vibration. Everything has a nucleus of its own. And that nucleus is its own chetana, its own core consciousness. So that has to manifest. When, say for example, this is the body which has its own core consciousness, through a particular discipline, when you allow that core nucleus of the body to manifest, then you will find the body, along with having the strength, has the suppleness, has the rhythm, has the beauty. Then suddenly you will say that, wow, this person is so beautiful, so rhythmic, so dynamic. So everything manifests along with the manifestation of that nuclear, that core consciousness. Okay. So that's what is called the Bija Mantra. So every aspect has a Bija Mantra. So when we talk these layers or these chakras, the energy centers, which are 6, and what lies above is the 7th one, the highest one. But within ourselves and a subtle body, please remember, the chakras have nothing to do with the physical being. Don't, we mark it that this chakra is at this place, this chakra is that place. But then question comes, when I stand, where is my Muladhara? When I sleep, where is my Muladhara? Okay. So if Muladhara is somewhere, as we understand, then when I am standing, so then I am separated from my Muladhara? No. So they are in the subtle bodies. Whether you stand, you sleep, you do whatever, being in whatever position, but they operate. The forces operate at the subtle level, not at the physical level. They have tremendous impact on the physical level, but it operates in the subtle level. So Muladhara. Muladhara means the base. The base where everything is stored. Everything is available. Okay. So this Muladhara chakra is connected with, like, if you know that these 5 elements, we translate it as elements, but because of English doesn't have that kind of vocabulary which can match with the original, but here we call it as Mahabhuta, Pancha Mahabhuta. So we have the Prithvi, the earth. Again, translating Prithvi as earth is also very difficult. It doesn't give the right sense. Why Prithvi is called Prithvi is a different story. Why Prithvi is called earth is a very different story, and both cannot have they are not similar. But because of the lack of words, for convenience we are using it. When we use it, there is no other word. Okay. So Prithvi Tattva is connected with the Muladhara chakra. Prithvi, in general, I mean the original property of Prithvi is stretching, expanding. So Prath is the root sound. So what can expand? So anything which is rooted within itself can expand. And while expanding, it doesn't lose its connection with the root. Okay. So that's why Muladhara, this is the Adhara, the base. And it can stretch and expand to any extent. So Prithvi is an idea. That's why Pratha is called the tradition, the continuity. If there is a fat man, he's called Pruthula, which is expanding. The flat rice is called Pruthuka, because you flatten it, Pruthuka. So if the study of root sound is very, very interesting. In fact, like we have launched a course called Sanskrit on Translatable, where I'm going to explain many, many key words in this manner, going back to the root sound, the root vibration, the different manifestation that it has. And once you understand the untranslatable nature of this language or word, you'll never feel like using any other language. Okay, it's very rich. So now Muladhara is connected with the Prithvi Tattva. And what is the Prithvi Tattva? Prithvi Tattva, because as I said, it's very rooted. It can expand. It gives you stability. So if the Muladhara Chakra is purified, energized, kept dynamic, it is filled in with that light, it is energized by the practice of awakening its own core consciousness, right? So when we say energize it, we are actually allowing the core consciousness, core vibration of that particular component to become dynamic, to manifest. So say if someone's Muladhara Chakra is energized, purified, one has the stability like the Prithvi. Okay. So stability means that person can stand in a particular position for years together without feeling tired. Can be in a very stable position for a long time and will not lose its own strength, will never feel tired. The people who are like that, very dynamic, physically strong, very stable, know that their Muladhara Chakra, they have worked out, that force is awakening. Similarly, you move above it, it's called the Swadhisthana Chakra. It's like physically they explain it that it is above the Muladhara and below the navel chakra. It's connected with the Jala Tattva, the water element. Okay. Again, the water element, if you see, water is all about purity. आपको अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, नहा लो, take a shower, feel power. The Kumbh is happening. Crores, millions and millions of people are going just to have a dip into it because they feel that this water can purify. And Swadhisthana Chakra, which mostly at the ordinary level, if it is not the core consciousness, if it is not awakened, then it remains in its ordinary state. It allows all kinds of lower vital energies to be active, and one becomes engaged with all kinds of wrong, negative, ugly activities. It needs purity. And once it has the purity, then one has much strength and one taps into the higher vital, which is the real source of the dynamic energy. Because you make yourself free from the lower vital, the trap of the lower vital. You tap into the higher vital. So it has its own core consciousness. So it has its own mantra, which we will be talking about. Then above that, the third chakra is called the Manipura Chakra. It's called Manipura, the navel chakra. The base chakra, the abdominal chakra, and the navel chakra, Manipura chakra, connected with Agni Tattva, the fire element. It's the fire. Fire is our willpower. So for example, someone who has a very strong willpower, think of Swami Vivekananda. We see that he is a firebrand Swami. A strong willpower. Never to accept defeat. Moves like a fire, like a jet. Right? So Agni can do that. So all those who have very low willpower, do not feel like doing anything, know that their Manipura chakra is congested. That's how we find the explanation. But the truth is that the fire has to be awakened in the Manipura chakra. It has its own core consciousness. It has its own mantra which can do that. Above that is the heart chakra. It's called the Anahata chakra. Anahata means it's not yet tapped. It's unstuck. The striking has not yet taken place, and that belongs to the Vayu Tattva. Vayu is everywhere, it spreads, and without Vayu you cannot even breathe, you cannot breathe. So Vayu Tattva, and it's the heart chakra, it's connected with our finer emotional subliminal part. If Anahata chakra is awakened, then one has the universal love, compassion, sympathy, empathy, everything so beautiful that happens when this heart chakra is We talk about a universal brotherhood. We talk about that the world is one family, but that cannot happen. That bhava, that sense will not happen if the heart is not yet open. So above that is the Vishuddha Chakra, the throat chakra, where the manifestation of the speech takes place. So the air travels from the navel region and gets stopped first time here at the vocal cord. The first striking of the air or obstruction happens at the throat level. Then you have the Vaikhari, you have the speech. Okay. So this is called the Vishuddha Chakra, and it's connected with the Akasha Tattva, which is connected again with the sound. Without Akasha, no sound. Right? So the sound travels through Akasha, through the space. So if someone's Vishuddha Chakra, like if someone is constantly telling lies, you'll have first defect in the speech, defect in the throat, constantly getting sore throat, and all kinds of defects you will get at the throat level. Many things happen, I'm not going into the details. And every chakra again has its own jati, own devata, own so many things. I'm not going into the details, but very practically we will do something. So purifying the Vishuddha Chakra means attaining to the truthfulness in speech. If someone's Vishuddha Chakra is truly purified, he says, let there be a tree, there will be a tree. There's so much purity in the speech. Then above that is the Ajna Chakra, the third eye chakra, they call it. So that's connected with our mind. Anything that mind does, so it's connected with the Ajna Chakra. When that is awakened, we have the greatest power of focusing and concentrating the energies of the mental consciousness. And it gives us greater focus, greater concentration, one-pointedness, ekagrata. Everything is achieved through the energization of the Ajna Chakra. And above that is called Sahasrara. Sahasrara means millions of rays. Sahasra doesn't mean 1,000. Sahasrara. Like you see the sun has many rays. You can't count the rays of the sun. So that's Sahasrara. So Sahasrara, the higher force. So everything belongs to that. It's like, as it is described, as if like 1,000 suns ablaze in the higher world. It's all light. There's no shadow in that. So there are two ways of practicing it. Like there has to be. Actually, there are two forces at work. One force is there is a call from below, and there is a response from above. If there is intensity, purity in the call, the response will be according. The more purity you are to your own aspiration and prayer, more intensity you are to your prayers, your aspirations, more sincere you are, more persistent you are, in spite of all failures, all obstacles, then to that degree, the force from above, the grace from above will respond to you. So this practice is, we will do a full cycle, like moving from Muladhara to Sahasrara, awakening through our prayers and invocations, invoking the higher force, and then invoking the higher force to descend into us, purifying every chakra and then getting settled within us. So that's how one full cycle is done. So now, the Muladhara chakra, the core consciousness connected with Prithvi Tattva, has the Bija mantra of it as a Lam. Lam. Say Lam. Lam. Then Swadhisthana chakra has the Bija mantra of it. The Bija sound is Vam. Say Vam. Then above that is the Manipura chakra, which has the sound Ram. Ram. And above that is Anahata chakra, which has the sound Yam. Yam. Above that is the Vishuddha chakra, which has the sound Ham. Ham. Then above that is the Ajna Chakra. There are various views, different shastras, different traditions speak differently. Some people use Om here, but we will use the word Ksham. Ksham. Ksham for Ajna Chakra. And for Sahasrara, we will use Om, which is the most potential sound. Right? So now there are people who do like Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Hum, Ksham, Om. This is one way of practicing. But we'll repeat the word 3 times, each mantra 3 times. So why 3 times? So most of the times we say Om 3 times, we say Shanti 3 times. 3 times means like this entire creation, the universe, as per our Vedic view, is divided into 2 parts. One is the lower half and one is the higher half. So the lower half has got 3 components: the physical, the vital. Vital means like the emotional and sensational being of ours, the pranic being, and then we have the mental, psychological being. So Sharira, Prana and Manas belong to the lower half. And it is here you have got maximum chaos, maximum problem at the lower half. So when we say Shanti, let there be peace in the physical, Shanti, peace in the prana, pranic being, Shanti, peace in the mental level. In the higher half, or in the core part of it's always peaceful. We don't need to invoke peace. But when we invoke peace, let that peace manifest at these 3 levels. So we repeat the 3 times, and repeating 3 times also, it establishes it, makes it fixed. Okay. We'll repeat the mantra 3 times, and in the beginning we will do Om. And then one additional sound I have here, Bija mantra, Om. They call it that Om is the Kundalini Jagarana mantra. Is for the awakening of the Kundalini Shakti. At the base, you have the storehouse of the entire. That's called Kundalini because it is seen as a serpent sleeping in a quiet manner, having all the energy. So that is called the Kula. Kula Avastha. So maybe the word coil comes from, it's connected with Kula, color, like that. So from the Kula, this Kula has to rise above and becomes a Nakula. One has to attain to the state of Nakula. Now no serpent. That's why you say Nakula in Sanskrit is a mongoose and Kula is a sarpa, a he. So they are, you have to attain to that level of Nakulatva. And that's why like if a mongoose passes before you, we consider it as very auspicious. There are a lot of subtle nuances in the sadhana that we will discuss sometimes if time permits. So whom is the Kundalini Jagarana mantra? Why this is the Kundalini Jagarana mantra? If you see, you are not in a good state. Like for example, some people are lifting something heavy. It's really heavy, but they are trying to lift. What is the natural sound it comes when they lift it? When a monkey jumps from one branch to the other branch. Makes it. And if you are truly feeling low, just do the hunkar. You suddenly find an upsurge of energy in you. So that is whom is the energy awakening mantra. And we'll repeat it along with, because we are actually allowing that Kundalini, that source of energy, to rise above along with everything. So who? So our pattern will be for every chakra, Om, Lam, 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 Om, Vam, 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 Om, Ram, 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 Om, Yam, 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 Om, and Hum, 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 Om, Ksham, 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 Om, and Om, Om, Om. This is from bottom up. Then we will have a separate set of mantras, top down. Okay. So let's repeat the sounds, become familiar with the sound once with me. And when you do it, your whole focus has to be on the Muladhara. And then feel that, there is this light, this power of invocation, the purity, you feel it. And when you transcend, when you move above, so without losing the connection with the lower one, you, as if like it is rising, you seeing it rising, and then getting it connected with the upper level. And then from there it is rising. And you are not losing the connectivity with any of these chakras. If you lose the connectivity, then there is some flaw in the meditation. So you could see that something is rising, connected, and then becomes identified with the Sahasrara. So that's how it happens. Makes it a very powerful meditation. So Muladhara Chakra, Om, Lam, 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 Om. Repeat. Swadhisthana Chakra, Om, Vam, 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 Om. Manipura Chakra, Om, Ram, 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 Hum. Anahata Chakra, Om, Yam, 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 Om. Vishuddha Chakra, Om, Ham, 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 Om. Om, Ksham, 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 Om. Agnya Chakra. Om, Om, Om. So certain things, certain risk factors and certain other things which I explain you. When you do any mantra practice, they say that you have to take diksha, initiation. Either you do it under the guidance of a guru, because guru knows if anything goes wrong, he can correct it. But my tradition also allows self-initiation. What is needed at the basis? The fundamental thing needed is your sincerity, your purity, and your intensity in aspiration, your devotion. Bhakti, Shraddha, Sankalpa, Nishtha. Without this, however great your guru may be, or you have got initiation from the guru, nothing is going to work if these things are missing. And never do any kind of practice for vested or selfish interest. It has to be only for the greater good, greater purpose. Sarva Bhuta Hita. This is the basic idea, purpose. Sarva Bhuta Hita. For the good of the world. For the good of the world. Not for any selfish interest. If anyone does any discipline, any practice for selfish interest, achieving something which is absolutely for one's own personal benefit, then it's not a right thing to do. The mantra will not work in that way. Or it may work, but it will not yield the right kind of result. It doesn't do to the good to the world. So always all our practices should be oriented and directed towards Sarva Bhuta Hita, of the greater good of the world. That is how Bharat could create such a strong foundation, strong civilization, which has an uninterrupted continuity and a living presence for so many thousands of years, because here the Rishi was called Rishi only when he is Sarva Bhuta Hiterana. If just some dress, some kind of fashion, it doesn't make someone Rishi. Sarva Bhuta Hita, for a greater good. And if you are doing it, even though you do not have a guru, you become your own guru. Your inmost being becomes your own swabhav, your antaratma becomes your guru, and that's why we say Atma Deepu, be the light of yourself. The real guru, the real jnana, the real light, the real truth lies within us. We need to manifest that. Okay. So keep this in mind. This is the basic thing that we have to begin. Okay, so we'll start the practice. I will recite the mantra, and then after that you can recite, you can sit in a very comfortable position, take some breaths, feel comfortable. Any position doesn't matter. You want to sit eyes open, we can. You want to sit eyes closed, we can. But please invoke, feel the presence of that higher force. Feel the presence of the purity. Purity is very, very important, right? So I'll do it, and when you do Om, it's Om, right? Never, whoever tells you, however great the people may be, if they say you that you do it Om or Aum, no, don't listen to them. It's Om. It's one word. It's Ekakshara Brahma. Everywhere it is described as Ekakshara Brahma. It's a single sound. Has to be articulated in a single unit. That's what is the rule in the language. O and E cannot be separated. It has to be A. O and U cannot remain separated. It has to be O. Single sound. Because it represents the unity of consciousness, not the division of consciousness. And in oneness and equanimity is the unity. So that one unit of sound is the Ekakshara. So O can be around 60-65%, and then feel the vibration of it, 35-40%. Okay, that's how you can feel the presence of O. So I'll do it, listen to me carefully, and then repeat after me. O. Visualize that it's rising above and getting connected with the Swadhisthana Chakra, and then you are repeating the mantra Om Vam 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 connecting with the Manipura Chakra. Moving up, connecting with Ajna Chakra. Moving above the head, feeling this light. So this session is more like becoming familiar with the technique. For the real practice, we have to do it some other time in a different way. Different way means like we have to have a different time to do it. Okay, which we will definitely do maybe tomorrow morning or something like that. But this is just the explanation. I explained it to you, made you familiar with the mantras and the concept. The purpose is not to initiate you or give you the mantra or do the real practice of it. It's just the explanation for a practical purpose, so that we understand the importance of it, the practical utility of it, and then we will do a true practice session together. Then I will tell you the rules and regulations, so which we will follow and then do it. So this is what I wanted. This is just one part from bottom up. So then the top down I'll explain some other time, and then we will do a whole cycle of practice in our practice session, in the mantra yoga session. Okay. So any question related to it? Yes, please.
Thank you very much for your interesting practice. The question is, how does the practice of chakra purification mantra from Muladhara to Sahasrara relate to the sacramental power of Sri Aurobindo?
So, she has asked a question specific to Sri Aurobindo's supramental force. So when we go to the supramental manifestation or the supermind aspect of it, Sri Aurobindo has a very different view, because we are not at that level. Many people are not at that level. Sri Aurobindo doesn't allow moving from below to up at a higher level. So it is only from the higher level that supramental force has to be invoked and allowed to flow into the whole being. So it is the top-down movement. But here, to prepare our being to hold the force, you need so much of purity, you need so much of preparation for allowing the supramental force to settle in or even entering into the being. It's a very higher realization, and Sri Aurobindo definitely has explained about all these chakras and the purificatory process, and he gives the importance to invoking the force from above. He gives importance to the heart meditation than mind meditation. Okay, so which is more powerful, but everyone cannot do it. All are not at the same level. We need lot of purification. We need to make our adhara powerful to hold onto that force, because if there is a rush of force into our being and we have no preparation, it may shatter us, or we may not get anything out of it. Okay. So it may create a problem for us, manifest in different diseases because the adhar is not pure. So for the purification purpose, adhar prastuti, so we have to keep our adhar ready for receiving the higher force. So and there are many other deeper things, because people are not familiar with the supermind and Sri Aurobindo's idea of yoga, so I will not get into the details. This is what Sri Aurobindo says when he speaks of whether bottom up or top down on how to practice it. He gives a lot of importance to the sahasrara.
So I have a question related to mantra chanting. Like Holy Kumbh is being organized and a lot of people go there to take the dip. So is it the mantra chanting or taking a dip in water, or some people follow certain rituals, worshipping the idols? Is it the kind of healing and effect it brings? Is it specific to that practice, or it is the impact of the faith that person has with respect to that practice? Like we are chanting mantra here, we all are Indians, we understand. Many of us have chanted those words since childhood, so we are associated with it, we understand the meaning, we have it it has been ingrained in our system that these mantras are good for us for chanting. But for somebody who doesn't understand even the mantra of a different nationality, they don't even understand the meaning, will it bring any change?
The same question was asked to Sri Aurobindo also. Like, suppose I do not understand the meaning of mantra. Why from different culture or different nation? From our own country also many people do not understand. So he says mantras are so highly rhythmic and potent that when you keep reciting it, he says that because of this rhythmic vibration, it creates new neurons. It creates new cells in the brain which are necessary for the realization of what lies behind the mantra. It prepares the mind. It may take time. It will take time. But it does work. It's a science by itself. So even though you do not understand the meaning of the mantra, if with sincerity, with devotion, you keep reciting it, suddenly one day you will find that, oh, I'm getting into it. It says me something. It's beautiful. This bhava will arise. If you have that sincerity, if you have that purity, if you, with that intensity and aspiration, you do it for the greater good, so the mantra will work.
So is it the mantra?
But it doesn't mean that you keep doing and do not make any effort to understand the meaning.
So is it the chanting of mantra, or is it the
See,
purity
it is very difficult to separate these things. It is an integrated whole. It's a whole package.
If somebody follows certain practice with purity of intention, maybe not mantra chanting, something else.
Anything.
So that can also bring the realization.
Yes, absolutely.
It is possible.
Absolutely. Mantra chanting is one way.
So can we say that?
Absolutely. But what you need is this bhakti, shraddha, sankalpa, nishtha, antarikata, and with this you can achieve anything. Whatever is
So technique
Then
can...
for me, I do mantra yoga, but my greater practice is to sit in the nature and then observe and then feel the silence of the nature. That's the most important practice for me.
So any practice which helps the person to go silent and the person
The
is
person has to
practicing...
evolve with that, yes, with this I am growing. It is bringing silence into me. It is bringing ananda into me. It is giving, it is making me Shakti, full of Shakti. So, if you go on doing things mechanically and it really doesn't help you, you don't grow with that. That's why, so look at this beautiful word. We call it mantra ucharana. Ucharana is not articulation. When you go to the dictionary, you will find ucharana means pronunciation, articulation, like that. But the root sense is ut. Ut means on, like udaya. Surya udaya. Ut on. Ucharana. The soul rising with the mantra. There's an elevation of the soul. Ucharana. If the soul is not rising, if there is no elevation of the soul, mantra, your whole being rising with the mantra, like the sun rises. And with that rise, you feel that, rapture, that bliss. Then the true ucharana happens. Why they have chosen this word ucharana? They could have chosen something connected with mukha, because with articulatory organs. No. The real purpose of ucharana is that your whole being rising with the mantra. The mantra is uplifting, connecting to with the higher forces. That's the true meaning of ucharana.
So what I understand from this is, even if the person is doing this practice, but not with the honest intention, and that practice, since the intention is not honest, that will not lead to the upliftment of the soul. So even
It may
mantra
give
might
some
be
kind of temporal
Relief.
benefits, but there's no
the purpose will not be so.
One thing, though you have explained that it is only the single word Om, right?
one unit of sound.
65% around O and then. But still, I just again I want to clarify that many of them say if Oms not start from O, start from is it like that?
No, it's O.
Only O, no?
It's O. O is O.
Not with R.
Yeah, even
For separate, like if you want to separate it and then separately contemplate on say separately contemplate on U, separately contemplate on
Subdivision.
so that's a different practice.
Subdivision.
But when you say O, it's O.
Om only, not
O.
Sahasrara.
It's O.
Sir, I don't clearly understand. Is it necessary to have a guru to initiate this practice, or
Always is always recommended that if you have a guru, it's always good.
but if I do it myself?
That's what I said, like you can initiate yourself by invoking the force of the guru within you. That will help bringing the guru to you. In our tradition, we said, I don't find a guru finds the disciple, true disciple. The guru comes. If you have that aspiration, the guru will come to you. And once the guru comes to you, he will never leave you. He will see that you attend to that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we close it with a few seconds of silence.